What would you do if everything you thought you knew about the person you loved was a lie? If the man you trusted, the man you gave your heart to, was hiding a dark secret, a secret so dangerous that it could destroy everything you've built? Sarah's world is crumbling, and the truth is no longer just a question. It's a ticking time bomb. The only thing left to do, decide whether to face it or walk away, before it's too late. Before we dive into today's story, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching this video from? We'd love to hear from you. There's an old saying that goes, you can never truly know someone until you live with them. But what if the person you thought you knew the best turned out to be someone completely different? What if everything you believed about them was a lie? Sarah Thompson had always believed she was living the dream. She had everything anyone could want, a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a future that seemed bright and unshakable. They were a team, partners in life, or so she thought. For years, Sarah and Mark had built a life together. They had shared laughter, love, and even their darkest fears. Sarah was certain she knew Mark inside and out. But what if there were things about him, things so dark that she couldn't even imagine? But even in the perfect moments, things weren't as they seemed. Because Mark wasn't just her husband, he wasn't just the man who held her hand and whispered sweet nothing at night. Mark had a past. A past buried so deep, even Sarah, his wife, had no idea what he had done. It started with a simple discovery, a piece of news, a headline, a name. The truth, hidden in plain sight, suddenly revealed itself in a way that left Sarah breathless. Prisoner Mark Thompson breaks out of maximum security facility. It wasn't just a crime, it was the breaking of a man she thought she knew, a man she had loved, trusted, and built a life with. Now, Sarah is forced to confront a terrifying truth she never saw coming. But this wasn't just about a man's secrets, this was about the life Sarah had been living, the life she thought she understood was crumbling. And now she faced an impossible question. How well do we really know the people closest to us? How deep do the lies go when they are buried under years of trust? In the coming days, Sarah would learn things about her husband and herself that would shake her to the core. She would have to decide if the man she loved was even the person she thought he was. Was he the same person who made her laugh, made her feel safe, or was he someone else, someone dangerous, someone she never truly knew? This is the story of a wife, a husband, and the shocking truth that tore their world apart, a journey that begins with a single discovery and ends with the question, how far would you go to uncover the secrets of someone you love? Sarah's story has only just begun, and what she's about to uncover may change everything she thought she knew about love, trust, and the dark secrets that lie beneath the surface of even the most perfect marriages. The thing about secrets is that they never stay buried forever. No matter how carefully you hide them, they always find a way to surface. And when they do, they can tear your world apart, piece by piece. That's exactly what Sarah would soon learn. When the discovery came, it wasn't just a truth. It was a bombshell waiting to explode. At first, Sarah didn't even think twice. After all, the world outside had been moving on, while her mind had been consumed with thoughts of Mark, his betrayal, his lies. She'd tried to push through the fog of confusion, to cling to some semblance of normalcy, but the universe had other plans. Text on screen. Prisoner Mark Thompson breaks out of maximum security facility. Sarah freezes. The room grows eerily silent. Her eyes lock onto the headline as if it were a ghost standing in front of her. The phone feels heavier than it should in her hands, like a lead weight. She rereads the headline, unable to grasp its meaning. For a moment, Sarah thought she was seeing things, a cruel mistake, but no, the name was clear. Mark Thompson, her husband, the man she loved. And according to this article, he wasn't just someone with a past, he was that past, a criminal, a fugitive, and now he was free. The article was full of chilling details: Mark's escape from a high-security prison, the chaos it caused, and the fact that no one had known how or why he was in there in the first place. The prison had remained tight-lipped. No one knew how long he'd been incarcerated or what crimes he had committed. And Sarah had never heard a word about it. For years, Mark had promised her he'd left his past behind, that the man he was before their marriage no longer existed. But what if that man was still lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to step forward? And what if Sarah had never truly known who Mark was, who he really was? Every moment of Sarah's life with Mark now felt like a lie. Every shared smile, every laugh, they all seemed tainted by this new revelation. How could she have missed it? How could she have not seen the signs? The man she'd trusted with her heart, with her future, was someone she never really knew. How could Mark, the man she loved, the man she'd built a life with, be part of something so dangerous, so criminal? What had she been blinded to all these years? And most terrifying of all, how much of it had she been complicit in without even knowing it? Text on screen. Sarah, we need to talk. I'm sorry, please meet me, it's urgent. Suddenly everything was in question. The man who had promised her his love and devotion, was he the same man who had been hiding in the shadows of his own past? Was this just a mistake, a coincidence, or had Mark been running from the truth all along while Sarah had been none the wiser? As Sarah looked out into the quiet morning, she knew something had changed. She wasn't sure what it meant or where it would lead, but she couldn't ignore the feeling deep inside her, the feeling that her life was no longer her own. It had been ripped away, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but questions, doubt, and fear. One text, one discovery, and now Sarah's world would never be the same. What had been a life of a quiet contentment was now a house of cards, ready to collapse under the weight of a truth she wasn't prepared to face. And yet, there was only one thing left to do. She had to confront him, she had to know, but as she drove toward the unknown, one question echoed in her mind. Could she handle the truth, or was it too much for her to bear? Some moments in life are inevitable, like the crash of thunder after a flash of lightning, unstoppable, loud, and unavoidable. For Sarah, this was one of those moments. She had come so far, driven by a truth she could no longer ignore. The discovery had already shaken her world, but now, standing on the precipice of her confrontation with Mark, Sarah could feel the weight of everything crashing down upon her. The man she had married, the man she had loved for so long, was a stranger in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. For years, Sarah had built a life with Mark, a life she thought was filled with trust, love, and honesty. But now, with each breath she took, each heartbeat that echoed in her chest, she realized that trust might have been a fragile illusion, one built on lies. And the man behind that door, he was the architect of those lies. Mark had known this conversation was coming. He had felt it in the air, the weight of Sarah's silence, the distance growing between them. But no matter how many times he tried to justify it, to tell himself that the past was behind him, he knew that the truth couldn't stay hidden forever, and when it came to light, there would be no turning back. Mark told Sarah, "You came, I knew you would." Sarah told, "What's going on, Mark? Who are you? You've been hiding this life from me for so long. How could you lie to me like this?" Mark, calmly. "Sarah, I never wanted you to find out this way. I wanted to protect you, protect us. My past, it's complicated." Sarah told, "Complicated? Mark, you've been hiding a criminal past from me, a past that includes robberies and breaking out of prison. Do you really think that's something I could just ignore?" Mark told, "I didn't want you involved in any of this, Sarah. You have to understand that. I've been trying to get away from it all. I wanted to start over with you, but my past, it keeps catching up with me." Sarah told, "No, you didn't want me involved." Mark, how could you think I would ever be okay with this? With you hiding something so huge, so dangerous from me? All these years you've been lying, and now I don't know who you are anymore. Mark told, I never meant to hurt you, Sarah. I thought if I could just leave it all behind, start afresh with you, you'd never have to know. But the truth is, I wasn't just running from my past. I was running from myself. I didn't want to be the person anymore. Sarah told, so, what? You think you could just erase everything? Forget what you did? You think you could just walk away from all the people you hurt? Mark told Sarah, Sarah, cutting him off, her voice shaking. No, you don't get to do this, Mark. You don't get to apologize and think it's all going to be okay. You lied to me for years. We built a life, Mark, a family, and I thought it was real. But this is not what I signed up for. You're not who I thought you were. Mark told, I never wanted to hurt you, Sarah. Please, just let me explain. Sarah choked up, voice breaking. I don't know who you are anymore. In that moment, Sarah felt as though the ground beneath her had given way and she was falling into an abyss. She had spent years building a life around the love she believed she had found with Mark. But now the truth was a jagged shard, cutting through every memory, every happy moment they had shared. The man who had once promised her forever now seemed like a stranger, a man who had kept his past hidden in the shadows, not just from the world, but from the woman who had loved him most. Sarah had wanted answers, but what she found was a truth far darker than she could have imagined. And now, with the weight of it all on her shoulders, the question remained, could she ever forgive him? Or was this the end of their story? The truth had come crashing down, and now there was no going back. In the aftermath of a moment like the one Sarah had just lived through, the mind does strange things. It seeks refuge in the past, clinging to the memories of what once felt real, what once felt safe. But sometimes those memories aren't as comforting as we imagine. Sometimes they open doors that should have stayed closed. And when they do, they reveal things about ourselves we never wanted to see. Sarah had always believed she was in control. Her life, her choices, her future, it had all been neatly planned out. She'd married Mark because she saw something in him, something good, something pure. She had believed that the person she chose to be with could be trusted, that love could overcome any darkness. But as the pieces of her life began to fall apart, Sarah couldn't ignore the sinking feeling that something about her past had always been waiting to catch up with her. It wasn't always like this. There was a time, a long time ago, when Sarah's life felt simple. She was a small-town girl, full of dreams and ambition, and the world felt full of possibilities. She met Mark at a friend's party, a chance encounter, one of those fleeting moments that seem insignificant at the time, but change everything. At first, Mark seemed perfect. He was everything Sarah had ever wanted, kind, funny, attentive. But even in those early days, there were signs, small things, moments where he seemed a little too eager to please, a little too secretive. He never spoke about his past, not in detail anyway, but Sarah brushed it off. Love, after all, has a way of convincing us that the darkness we can't see doesn't exist. There were nights when Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. When she looked at Mark, she would catch fleeting glimpses of a person she didn't recognize, someone distant, haunted by something he wasn't ready to share. She would ask him about it, and he'd always respond with the same answer. It's nothing, it's in the past. Sarah told Jenna, I don't know what to do. There's something about him, something he's hiding. I swear, I've tried asking, but it's like he closes off whenever I bring it up. That was the moment Sarah realized the truth. She had been ignoring the signs. There was a part of her that knew, deep down, that Mark's past wasn't as innocent as he claimed. But love, powerful and blinding, had kept her from seeing the bigger picture. She wanted so badly to believe that their life together could be a fresh start for both of them, that the darkness in his past could be left behind. She wanted to believe that Mark had changed. Even then, Sarah ignored it. She couldn't bring herself to question Mark too deeply, not when everything they'd built was so fragile, so new, but every time she saw something out of place, every time she found a clue that didn't make sense, a small part of her began to wonder, what if I'm not seeing him for who he really is? Now, in the silence of her car, the truth was unavoidable. Her past wasn't just about Mark's lies. It was about her own blind spots, her own refusal to see the warning signs that had always been there. She had believed in love so strongly that she'd closed her eyes to the darker corners of her life, hoping they would disappear on their own. But the truth never stays hidden for long. Sarah had spent so long searching for answers from Mark, but now she realized the truth was not just about him. It was about everything she had chosen to ignore about herself. She was no longer the woman who believed in fairy tales, in the idea that love could fix everything. Now she was just a woman, standing on the edge of a life she couldn't recognize, wondering how she could move forward when everything she thought she knew was built on lies. When we are forced to confront the truths we've spent years bearing, it has a way of unraveling everything, the fabric of our lives, tightly woven with memories, dreams, and the people we trust, can begin to tear at the seams. For Sarah, the storm had already come crashing down. The truth about Mark's hidden past, the lies, the secrets. But there was still one more revelation waiting in the shadows, one that would shift everything she thought she knew, not just about Mark, but about herself. Text on screen, Mark. Sarah, I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But please, just hear me out. There's something you don't know, something I need you to understand. I'll be waiting for you, please don't shut me out. She had already made up her mind, hadn't she? She had already decided that Mark was too far gone, that the man who had betrayed her could never be the man she thought she loved. Yet the thing about the truth is that it has a way of making us question everything, even our own convictions. Text on screen, Mark. I need you to meet me. There's more you don't know about what happened. I swear, this is not what you think. Please, just give me a chance to explain. I owe you that much. Maybe it was the need for closure, maybe it was the flicker of hope that Mark was then beyond saving, or maybe it was the raw desire to understand just how deep the betrayal had truly gone. Whatever the reason, Sarah couldn't walk away, not yet, not without hearing him out, not without finally learning the full truth, no matter how painful. Sarah, coldly. You've got 5 minutes, Mark. Make it count. Mark. I know you hate me right now, and you should. I've kept so many things from you, and I can't take that back. But there's more to this than what you think. The things that you read about me, they're not the full story. The man I was before I met you. I wasn't just running from my past. I was hiding something much worse than you know. Sarah, through gritted teeth. How could it get worse, Mark? What could you possibly have done that could make this any worse? Mark, told you're right. What you read about my escape, it's the truth. But the crimes they said I committed, they don't tell the full story. There was someone else involved, someone who isn't who they seem to be, someone I never thought I'd have to talk about again. Sarah told who? Mark told Sarah, the man who was my cellmate, the one who helped me escape. He's the reason I got in trouble in the first place, but not just any trouble. He's the one who set me up. He used me, he blackmailed me into taking the fall for his crimes, and I didn't know how to get out. He's dangerous, Sarah, and when I tried to get away, he came after me. Everything Sarah had thought she knew about Mark's escape, his past, it was all twisted into something she hadn't even considered. The truth had been buried so deep beneath layers of lies, manipulation, and deception, she couldn't even fathom the reality of what he was saying. Mark hadn't just been a criminal, he had been a victim too. Mark told, I never told you about him because I was ashamed of what I'd done, ashamed of how I let myself get involved with someone like him. But the thing is, I couldn't keep running from him. He's dangerous. He's not just after me anymore, Sarah, he's after us. For the first time, Sarah saw Mark as someone more than just the man she loved. She saw him as a man who had been caught in a trap, manipulated, lied to, forced into decisions that had spiraled out of control. But could she really trust him? Could she believe that everything he had done, every lie he had told, was because of a man who had threatened their lives? Sarah, softly. So, all of this, the prison, the escape, everything, it was because of him. You weren't just running from your past, you were running from him. Mark told yes, and I'm still running. I didn't want to bring you into this, Sarah. But now it's too late, he's getting closer, and I need you to understand, this isn't over. Mark's past was darker than Sarah could ever have imagined, but now, as the truth spilled out between them, she was faced with an impossible decision: to walk away from everything she thought she knew, or to face the unknown together with the man who had once promised her the world. Sometimes we find ourselves standing at the edge of everything we thought we knew about our lives, about the people we loved, about the world around us. And then, just when we think we have it all figured out, the ground beneath our feet shifts again. Sarah was standing on that precipice, her mind caught between disbelief and fear, when something happened that would change everything. A knock on the door that she never saw coming. She had thought she understood the situation, she thought she had a clear path forward, but as the seconds ticked by, the air in the apartment seemed to grow heavier. The weight of Mark's confession, the unknown man from his past, the sense of being trapped, it all felt like too much to carry. And then, just as she was about to make up her mind on what to do, the night took another turn. It wasn't a casual knock, it wasn't the kind of knock you'd expect from a neighbor or a delivery man, it was the kind of knock that demanded attention, a deliberate heavy knock that seemed to come from somewhere far darker than the hallway outside. The fear was immediate, not because Sarah didn't recognize the figure outside, she didn't even see them, but because she couldn't shake the feeling that whoever was knocking had come for a reason, and that reason wasn't something she could ignore. The man stood there as though he had been waiting for her to open the door. He didn't speak at first. He didn't need to. His very presence was enough to make Sarah's heart race. The silence between them was thick, like the calm before a storm. But then, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "Mysterious man," told Sarah Lane, Sarah nervously. Who are you?" Mysterious man told. "You don't know me, but I know you. And I know everything about what's been happening to you, about Mark, about your situation." How could he know all of that? How could he know about Mark's past, the secret life she had just uncovered, the web of lies she'd been tangled in? 1,000 questions raced through Sarah's mind, but she couldn't find the words to speak. She felt as if she were trapped in a nightmare, surrounded by forces beyond her control, pulled in different directions with no clear way out. Mysterious man told, "I'm not here to hurt you, Sarah, but I can help you. There's more at stake here than you understand, more than you can even begin to imagine." Sarah, gathering her courage, "What do you want?" Mysterious man told, "Mark isn't the man you think he is, and the danger he's brought into your life, it's only just begun. There's a price to pay for what's happened, Sarah, and I'm here to make sure that price is paid." Every word he spoke seemed to carry an unseen weight. His presence, his words, they were more than just a threat, they were a warning. And in that moment, Sarah realized that she was no longer just caught in the web of Mark's lies. She was caught in something much bigger, something that had been spinning around her for far longer than she could comprehend. Mysterious man told, "You'll see, Sarah, soon enough, but be careful. Once you step into this world, there's no turning back." As quickly as he had arrived, the mysterious man was gone, vanished into the night as if he had never been there. But Sarah wasn't left in silence, she was left in confusion, fear, and a sense of impending doom. The warning had been given, but who was he? What did he know about Mark's past? And what was the price that she would have to pay? Now, Sarah was at a crossroads. The path ahead was more dangerous than ever. The truth about Mark, the man who had just appeared at her door, and the terrifying realization that everything she thought she understood was a lie. Each piece was leading her toward something far darker than she could ever have imagined. The game was no longer just about love or betrayal, it was about survival. The night had stretched on endlessly for Sarah, each tick of the clock echoing like a reminder of the decisions she had yet to make. The mysterious visitor's cryptic warning still hung in the air, thick and suffocating, like a shadow that refused to leave. And despite every instinct telling her to run, to escape, to shut the door on the whole nightmare, Sarah knew that the path ahead was inevitable. There was no turning back now. She thought she understood the game, she thought she knew the players, but now Sarah was caught in a tangled web of lies, threats, and an unspoken darkness that had been lurking just out of sight. And as much as she wanted to walk away, pretend she could just shut it all out, she realized that her choices had already been made for her. Her only question now was, would she walk into the fire, or would she turn her back on everything and lose everything she had left? Text on screen, Mark. Sarah, I know what happened last night scared you. I get it. But you need to know I didn't bring you into this to put you in danger. There's so much I haven't told you, but I can't keep running. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this right. Please, meet me. It's the only way to fix this. Mark's words had always been a part of her, a part of their shared story, but now those words felt like chains, pulling her back into the very life she had tried to escape from. She couldn't ignore the feeling that she was standing at a crossroads, one path leading to the man she thought she loved, and the other into a future that could be anything but safe. The clock was ticking, Mark was waiting, but so was the life she had carved out for herself before all of this, before the lies, the deception, and the fear. It was the life she thought she would have, the life she deserved, but could she really leave it behind? Text on screen, Sarah, I'll meet you, but no more lies, no more secrets. This has to end, Mark, for both of us. There it was, the choice, the moment of reckoning. Sarah had chosen to face whatever was coming, to meet Mark, to confront the world they had both been running from. But the question still remained, what would happen when they finally came face to face with the truth? Would they survive it? Or would the lies destroy everything they had built together? As Sarah made her way to the meeting point, her mind raced. She was closer than ever to uncovering the truth, to ending this nightmare once and for all. But the question still loomed. Was she walking into a trap? Was this really Mark's last attempt to make things right, or was it the beginning of something far worse? For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The world around Sarah blurred as the figure came closer, each step a reminder that she was no longer in control of her fate. And in that moment, she realized, sometimes the hardest choices aren't the ones we make ourselves. Sometimes they're the ones that are forced upon us. The final choice had been made, but what came next was beyond anything Sarah could have ever prepared for. Now imagine you were in Sarah's shoes. What a choice would you make? Would you confront the truth or walk away from it all? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling stories like this one.